Hello, my name is Travis Manhook, and this is my persuasive speech for the online speech class. My speech today will be about Puritan punishment and how I think it is way better than our punishment system today. Okay. The Puritan way of dealing with crime was a better method than the modern way that we deal with crime today. There's a big difference between the Puritan way of punishment and the modern way of punishment. But there are ways to fix what we're doing wrong. Some say that Puritan punishment, the way that they used to do punishment in the Puritan ways, some people think it's way too much. But I tend to disagree. If a person does a crime, then they should be punished for their crime, just as what they do. The severity of the punishment depends on the crime that they're charged with. Puritan administration's mode of punishment was more frequently employed than any other, for it was the penalty visited upon loiterers, drunkards, tipplers, disorderly soldiers, and persons guilty of profane cursing and other mild offenses. There are many examples on how well and effective the Puritan way of punishment is towards the criminals and the impacts it had on its viewers. The Puritan way of punishment is very strict and physically painful in a public area in a town, so everyone around may see someone get punished for their crimes. And these would take place in such as like town square, or a public punish yard, or something like that, kind of like a gallows, or something like that, just so everybody can see and witness what the people are being punished for and how they're being punished. And if they do that same crime, they'll see what they can do or what will be done to them if they do that crime. Throughout time, there have been many forms of punishment, but most effective documented was the Puritan way of punishment. So that right there kind of shows you that the best form of punishment was well documented as the Puritan punishment. Jeff Jacoby, his essay is "Bring Back Flogging," and it is out of the book "Current Issues and Enduring Questions: Guide to Critical Thinking and Argument with Regards." But Jacoby gives examples that show how hard punishment was to the Puritans and how effective it was on the wrongdoer. In 1632, Richard Hopkins was sentenced to be whipped and branded with a hot iron on one of his cheeks for selling arms and gunpowder to Indians. In 1964, Hannah Newell pleaded guilty to adultery, and the court ordered 15 stripes severely to be laid upon her naked back at the common whipping post. Now see there, they have a common whipping post where I'm assuming they just give lashings for the severity of your crime. These individuals were sentenced serious punishments for their crimes and would learn greatly of their wrong deed and never do it again. The crime rate back then was very little. You did a crime, you didn't pay time like you do today. You got punished, you learned your lesson, and you didn't do it again. The punishment could also be in the form of a public embarrassment. Since they were punished in a town square-like setting, this would make them feel embarrassed, and they would just not want to do the crime again because they didn't want to stand out in front of people and be discriminated against like that. Some examples of how the modern way of punishment isn't helping at all and how it should be modified at once so we can minimize the amount of crime and the number of inmates in state and federal prisons. A fact is 52% of released prisoners return to prison, and 67% of those are rearrested. Well, I mean, if you sit in a jail cell, you really don't learn anything. You're just passing the time. As the years went on, generations changed, and so did the way of punishment in modern times. The modern form of punishment is going to jail or imprisonment. People think of punishments to be harsh and inhumane. To others, to the point that government and the state officials changed the laws of punishment and how they were dealt out to criminals. Well, Jacoby says, he's from the essay, he says, now we practice a more enlightened, more humane way of disciplining wrongdoers. We lock them up in cages. And sadly, that's true. We do lock them up in cages. I don't like it. It doesn't teach them a lesson. It basically I think it makes them go crazier, honestly. But that's just the way we are now, and I think that should be changed. It seems like we send every criminal to jail or prison for just about any crime. Like, you commit murder, you go to jail. You sell cocaine, you go to jail. You cut checks, you go to jail. I mean, every crime, you have this amount of time in jail every time. The modern form of punishment does not teach any kind of lesson to the criminals at all. I would personally think of it as adults slapping a kid on the hand and telling them that it was wrong, but that really doesn't teach a kid a lesson, you know. While criminals are in prison, they learn new ways to escape the law, fight back, and they have plenty of time to think of a new, more strategic way of committing a crime and not getting caught, other than getting real punishment and learning a lesson to not commit the crime again. I support the Puritan way of punishment because it is a very effective and assuring way of discipline so that criminals will learn from their mistakes and citizens will learn from the criminals' mistakes, as in the form of seeing their punishment being delivered to them. The Puritan way of punishment is a far greater than the modern way of punishment, and that it will show the criminals what real punishment is compared to sitting in a gated room with nothing to do but sit around and think. Now me, if I got enough time to sit around, I'll come up with a good idea. But if I'm punished for it, then it'll be done with, and everything's, I get punished, I learn my lesson, I'll move on from life, not do the crime again. But if you feel the same way I do about today's punishment and how it needs to be changed, then go and write out to your mayor, governor, or even the president of the United States of America and tell them why you think the old Puritan way of punishment will be more effective to today's criminals. Because I can sit here and I can tell you how much better the Puritan way is toward or against the way we do it nowadays. I can tell you that from left and right until I turn blue in the face. But unless me, you, and everybody else goes out and does something about it, nothing's going to be done about it. Everybody's just going to be still sitting in prison, getting 3 meals a day, not having to work for it. We as taxpayers, we pay them 3 meals a day and a house to live in for doing a crime. Now, me, I don't personally like that, but then again, that's the way society is right now. But there's a possibility that we can change all this, and if we did that, I'd say the crime rate would go way down. And once it goes down, it'll stay down. Then the criminals, if they have families or kids or grandkids, they can teach them that. They can show them what's right, what's wrong. If you do what's wrong, this is what's going to happen to you. No questions asked. But I think that the Puritan way of punishment should be enforced, should be brought back into the United States of America. And once it does, there will be a big change. But we need help from you. And I can sit here and tell you that, but until somebody writes or says something to somebody that can change it, then nothing's going to be done about it. But I think we can get this done and changed. Thank you.